Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here, especially on short notice. As Steve said, I can't let the opportunity of so many sports journalists being here without recognizing our national championship winning women's soccer team, which won its 23rd national championship here on Monday. Indeed. I also want to thank my colleague, Bubba Cunningham. I've said publicly earlier that Bubba is among the most respected and admired athletic directors in the country, and the last couple of weeks have shown once again why that is the case. He's conducted himself with an extraordinary level of professionalism and dedication, and I'm honored to work with him. So it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel, but today is an especially great day to be a Tar Heel. We've been playing football at Carolina since 1888, and I suspect that in those 136 years, there are a few days that have been as auspicious as this one. I've said many times that we want to be the best public university in the United States, and that means excellence in everything that we do. We're going to have an excellent college football program. We want to compete with the best, and we've hired the best coach. I was sent this morning this excerpt from Carolina's football media guide from 1954. It's talking about one of the assistant coaches, Stephen Nicholas Belichick. When Steve joined the Carolina coaching staff 2 springs ago, he felt right at home working alongside Bill Edwards, who had already come here. Edwards was Steve's coach at Western Reserve, and for the past 4 years, Steve had been an assistant to Edwards at Vanderbilt. He began his coaching career at Southwestern Louisiana Institute during his Navy V-12 training, became head coach at Hiram College in Ohio, and remained on that job 3 years before joining Edwards at Vanderbilt. Steve Belichick established a record for himself as a coach on pass defense at Vanderbilt. Steve is married to the former Jeanette Munn of West Palm Beach, Florida. They have a 2-year-old son, William Stephen. So, Coach, welcome back to Carolina.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chancellor. Really appreciate the kind words. And in the immortal words of Yogi Berra, the future ain't what it used to be. And we are embarking on an entirely new football operation, and we can't wait to have Coach Belichick leading the charge for us. Over the last 4 or 5 years, anytime there's been a search anywhere in the country, they thought the first 2 people you should call are Brad Stevens and Jay Wright, so that's who I called first. I didn't think either one of them were interested, but then we said, all right, how big can our list be and who should be on it? And we are here today to celebrate an incredible day for Carolina athletics and having Coach Belichick join us at the university. We are known as the University of National Champions, and we have a Super Bowl champion coach who's here to lead the program. With him today is also Michael Lombardi, former general manager in the NFL, and the future of college athletics is changing, and we want to be in the forefront of that. Coach Belichick has demonstrated his passion for teaching, for coaching, and for lifelong learning, and he is an absolute perfect fit for us at this time in the history of the university and the history of college sports. Please welcome the new head football coach at the University of North Carolina, Coach Bill Belichick.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bubba, I believe you have a presentation for Coach. Chancellor also.
All right. You got a jersey. And I did get a new sport coat for the occasion.
Oops, sorry, Bob.
Well, Chancellor, thank you for the sweatshirt, but the truth of the matter is, I already have one. It's good to have two. That was actually my dad's from when he coached here. Yeah. You can tell I like it, right? I've kept it a long time. It's got a little wear on it. Chancellor Bubba, thank you. I can't express my gratitude to both of you, the Board of Trustees, for this amazing opportunity. I've always wanted to coach in football, coach in college football, and it just never really worked out. Had some good years in the NFL, so that was okay. But this is really kind of a dream come true. I grew up in college football with my dad. As the coach at Navy for 50 years, so as a kid, all I knew was college football, and so it's great to come back home to Carolina and back in an environment that I really grew up in. When you're little, you don't remember everything. Obviously, I was too young to remember a lot of things from Carolina, but as I grew up, you hear the same story over and over and over and over again, and so one story I always heard was Billy's first words were, "Beat Duke." So, full circle. But again, very grateful and appreciative for the opportunity. This is a great process. I've learned so much about the university and the support that we have for the football program. And this is, obviously a great educational school, and the kids here are outstanding. And we want to, transfer that over to the football field and have an outstanding football team with those student athletes. So, I'm here to as Bubba said, teach, develop, and build the program in the way that I believe in. And so grateful to have Michael, with me in this process. Michael and I have worked together for going all the way back over 30 years, and he has a great knowledge of the general manager role, if you will, in this type of position, with terms of scouting two sets of players, high school players and college portal players, as well as dealing with some version of what's called salary cap, which is now part of college football. So. All that being said, I look forward to working, here. I talked to the players a little earlier, and it was a great opportunity to start to get to know them and start to build the program. And I'm excited to continue that process. And also met with Coach Kitchens, who will be, the first member of the staff that we hire, and I have a ton of respect for him. As well as for Mac. There's a lot of respect for Mac and his career, what he's done. So also look forward to, connecting with him down the road. But excited to be here, excited to be in college football, excited for the opportunity to build and develop young student athletes, young men, and prepare them for their life, either in the NFL or professionally. But the lessons they learn will be professional lessons. They'll be pros in all areas, and that's what we want to develop, as well as having a winning program, a successful program. But we want to develop good people and good kids and good football players. So, Steve?
Thank you, Coach. Forgive me before we go to questions. One omission that a lot of luminaries in the room right now, but only one of you were inducted in the Pro Football Hall of Fame and the College Football Hall of Fame in the last 6 months. Julius Peppers. Congrats, Pep. Okay, again, please, if you would identify yourself and your affiliation quickly. Let's get through the questions quickly so we can get to as many people as possible. Hold your hands right now because I've got 7 assigned already. We're going to start over here on the right-hand side. Aaron Beard with the AP. I've already done that part. Go ahead, Aaron.
Hi, Coach. When you were studying college football in the last year and examining it, so much more has come into professionalism in the model, whether it's NIL, portal, revenue sharing coming up. How many parallels did you see to what the experience you've had at the pros, and do you envision it sort of being like a mini NFL team in that regard?
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. I do think there are a lot of parallels. There's certainly some differences, but there are some parallels, and I think that's the reason for the general structure of Michael as a general manager and myself as a coach, and working together collaboratively like we have done in a professional organization. So. Yeah, I do think there's some parallels. There's differences for sure, but yes.
Right next to him, Brennan. I'm sorry, Coach, go ahead.
Hey, Bill. Brendan Marks from The Athletic. At what point in this process did you decide or know that you wanted to become the next head coach here? Was there a singular moment when that happened? And can you elaborate on the investment that North Carolina and your conversations with the Chancellor and Bubba made to make you feel comfortable taking the role?
Yeah, I mean, it was, we went through a process, but it was great. Every step of the way was great. The support was tremendous. All the things that I feel are important to having a successful program, Bubba and Chancellor Roberts reaffirmed, and I think they've made they've made a great commitment to this program. Obviously, a great university, and I'd say along the way, as kind of things got out, if you will, the amount of support that I got from Carolina grads, former Carolina football players, people that are connected with this university was really overwhelming. And not that I'm any social media expert, because I'm not, but there was an awful lot of, positive feedback from my face and stuff like that, and it was great.
Front row left here, Chip.
Chip Alexander, News Observer in Raleigh. I'm roughly your age, so I ask you this respectfully. Just at 72, why do you want to keep coaching? What's in it for you? You've proven yourself over and over, and your legacy is set. Why keep coaching?
Well, beats working.
Good.
When you love what you do, and my dad told me this, when you love what you do, it's not work. It's really, I love what I do. I love coaching. I love the interaction with the players. I love building a team, working with the assistants, game planning, the game itself, which, there's some good ones, there's some bad ones, but they're all learning experience, and working with, young kids who, with the energy, enthusiasm to want to be good, to want to be successful. It's great every day to wake up and come into that environment. Thank you.
Okay, we got Andrew, then Michael.
Hey, Coach. Andrew Jones, Tario Illustrated. A lot of talk's been made about the difference, how college football is a lot more like the NFL, like what you were talking a few minutes ago with finances. What about scheme? How much can you take from the intricacies of the scheme you use with the Patriots to college when you don't have as much time with the college kids?
That's a great question, Andrew. I think in some respects you have more time than with college kids. Not as much meeting time, but more practice time, certainly more opportunities to practice in pads and work on fundamentals and things like that. So, it's a trade-off, but, in the end, scheme-wise, I want to be versatile and take advantage of the personnel that we have. And so I've always coached that way. I don't want to just, run one front and run 4 or 5 plays, and that I just don't believe in that. I believe in attacking the defense, in defending what the offense does well, and that takes some versatility. All two teams aren't the same, and I think you have to play them differently from week to week. So that's what we'll do, and we'll use our personnel the best we can to do that. But we'll have a versatile and system that will incorporate any good player. If we have a good player, I've never told Michael, hey, that's a good player, we can't use him. Give us a good player, and our scheme we'll find a way to work that player into the scheme.
Michael, then Adam, over here on the left, Coach.
Hey there, Coach. Michael Coe with WCHL and ChapelBoro.com here in Chapel Hill. You've mentioned that you've talked to the current players already. Have you had conversations with some UNC football alums, guys like Julius and other players in the past? And what have those conversations, if you have had them, been like?
Yes, I've had conversations with, with Julius, LT. I mean, he's the greatest players that have played here. Very supportive. Talked to Michael the other day. Very supportive. There's been a ton of support from ex-players and other UNC alums. This is a great brand and a great support system here. So I'm excited to just spend more time with these people and to get the support that they've, I'll say promised, but that they've, indicated that how much they want to be a part of the program and how much I want them a part of it. Thank you.
Adam, right here on the end, Coach, second row, and then Brian.
Hey, Bill. Adam Smith with Inside Carolina. What were your impressions of UNC as a football program from the outside when you were in the NFL for so many years? It sounds like when you would come back here to scout, occasionally the place made, an impression on you.
Well, come back here to scout is, as a coach, you kind of get where you go where you want to go, right? And maybe you send your assistants to, somewhere else. You take the trip to Carolina, take some of the other better trips. But, Michael and I have made trips down here to scout players. But, I'd say the overall impression, like, great place to go to school, great program. But, it's been a while. 1980, that was the heyday, really. And we got Taylor right after that at the Giants. And talked so much about, the Tar Heels and their great program and kind of hasn't been to that point since. So, I think there's a lot of pride in this program, and I want to do everything I can here to help take it to the highest level.
Got about 5 in this section. Brian, then Marty right in front of him. Brian, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Brian Murphy with WRAL. Two, if you don't mind. How do you envision filling out your staff? Do you think it'll be former NFL coaches? Will it be current college coaches? And what about your son? And then for Bubba and Chancellor, did it take some time for you to get comfortable with the idea of hiring a coach with no college experience, one who's a little bit older? And how did that process sort of play out? How did you become comfortable with that?
Coach, you first, please.
Yeah, on the staff, we'll hire the best coaches we can hire. I want to do everything I can to help this program and make it as strong as possible. So we'll hire the best ones we can get. There are several college coaches that are involved in bowl games and so forth. And so I wouldn't interfere with the process at those schools with their commitments to their teams. So we'll see how it goes. But look, in the end, I've already had a lot of people contact me. There'll certainly be a strong presence of NFL people on the staff. I think that's a certainty, and not only in the staff but in the training area. But at the same time, I'm looking for the best people we can get for Carolina, and that fit I think is a little different than what an NFL team would have. But we'll see.
Chancellor, do you want to go first? Bubba.
I kind of got over the hump on the collegiate head coaching experience with Damon Nahas and Aaron Matson.
Nothing
Marty?
to add to that.
I didn't know if the Chancellor wanted to weigh in on that.
No.
Marty, go ahead.
Coach, good afternoon. Marty Smith from ESPN. When a guy like you with that resume walks in the door here, expectation skyrockets. I wonder how you'll define success at the University of North Carolina. We've seen that guys can flip programs quickly in the portal era. So what is success to you here?
Yeah, well, success is, it's a day-by-day process. And the only thing we can really do anything about is, today, tomorrow, what's immediately in front of us. So take advantage of every opportunity we have to build the team, improve the team, get better, and keep stringing a lot of good days together, and the results will come.
Pat Welter.
Pat Welter, WRL. Bill, what do you say to people that fear that if you do succeed here, that you might leave for the NFL again in a year or two?
Yeah, I didn't come here to leave.
Art Chansky. Then Skip.
Art Chansky, Newton, Massachusetts. Valuation of the roster and roster turnover is very important. Besides talking to the players individually and watching film, what other ways are you to evaluate this current roster to see what kind of additions you might need through the portal and other measures? You can't work them out on the field before spring practice, right?
Well, yeah, well, but they're working out there now, getting ready for the bowl game.
Right.
So they're practicing on a daily basis. And, I'm in very close contact with Coach Kitchens, and, Michael and I are here now, so we'll start the process and take advantage of all the opportunities we get. So some of those are in person, some of those are in training, some of those are on film, and so forth. Some players are injured, and those are, wouldn't be able to be evaluated now, but there are other ways to look at them, what they did in the past, and try to project what their future is.
Thank you.
Like Skip Foreman here, right in a row. Skip, then Jeremiah. We'll skip over to this side.
Coach Skip Foreman with the News and Record of Greensboro and the Winston-Salem Journal. On my face and some of the other places, there are people who are still a little leery of your hiring and concerned about where the program is going and where you're going to take it. While you're concerned about football, there's always public criticism. And what do you want to tell those people?
I'm here to do the best I can for the University of North Carolina and the program. That's what I'll do. I'll give it the best I have every day.
To the right here, Jeremiah.
Yeah, Jeremiah Holloway with Inside Carolina. Bill, one thing that you mentioned was you're looking forward to teaching and developing, a lot of the, the younger players here at UNC. Obviously, when you were in the professional realm, players, a little older, got families, things like that. What do you kind of envision and what excites you about the differences of working with, kind of those younger 19, 20-year-olds as compared to, working with some of the, older guys like you did in the NFL?
Right. Well, again, in the NFL, it's a combination of a lot of things. But if you look at the players we had in the NFL, Tom Brady was a fourth-string quarterback his rookie year. He didn't exactly come in as, with any play time at all. Gronkowski, he, didn't do too much his rookie year. Julian Edelman played quarterback in college. Then he was a wide receiver. Then he was a punt returner. So developing players is, something that Michael and I believe strongly in, and we'll support that with the staff, and we'll support that with the program. There's a lot of opportunity and room for growth for all players, whether 19, 20, or honestly 22, 23. Now, look, there's a certain point in their NFL career where they kind of level off, and maybe there's a little, maintaining that is really where they're at. But there's so much growth in players, and again, I just think there's a little more time to do it here at the college level, and I'm excited about that opportunity.
So, if I've already called on you and asked one, I'm not going to come back to you until I've gotten everybody through, so you can save your arms. Joey, then Mitchell.
Coach Joey Powell, Inside Carolina. I think there's some similarities between today's modern era with players and recruiting as to obviously what you've seen in the NFL. What do you see similar about that and the recruiting process versus just all an out-and-out free agency that you had when you were in the league?
Well, I think there's a number of differences. I mean, the free agency in college, if you will, is annually. In the NFL, players were, generally speaking, with a team for 4 years until they were eligible for 4 years for free agency. They could be released before that. So, that would be one difference. There's actually more movement in college football. There's more structure in the NFL in terms of agents, salary cap, standardized contracts, things like that with the NIL. And the revenue share, it's just structured a little bit differently. And some, I don't say technical things, but some logistical things like that are different. But, all manageable, and every other college team is doing the same thing that we are, so, except for Army, Navy, and Air Force. But they're, that is what it is. So I think to Bubba's point, like trying to be ahead of the game, ahead of the curve, ahead of the process, that's what we're always going to try to do.
Give it to Tommy, right? Or Mitchell, Mitchell, then Tommy. Go ahead, second row.
Yeah, Mitch Northam, North Carolina Public Radio. For Chancellor Roberts and Bubba, during this process, because of all the changes that everybody has mentioned with college football and the changes to come with the House settlement, was it important for y'all to pursue someone who has the extensive pro experience that Coach does?
Well, it certainly was a factor in it. And we looked at a wide variety of people. And obviously, when it became realistic that he was available, and it certainly was a path that we really wanted to go down and explore. And we're just really fortunate to be here today. And he's willing to say yes and to lend his expertise and knowledge to Carolina. So very excited about it.
Tommy, second row.
Coach Tommy Ashley with Inside Carolina. You've been in the game a long time. How much have you seen the game itself change, and how much have you sort of changed over the years you've been involved in the game, and now you bring it to the college level?
Well, yeah, of course, the game's changed a lot. And really in every area, wherever you want to look, whether it's the size of the players, the equipment, the technology. But I mean, in the end, you got 120 yards, 100-yard field. And it comes down to blocking, tackling, ball security, fundamental execution. I mean, all those things are still important regardless of whether you're in 12 personnel or 11 personnel, whether you're in nickel or base defense. There's still a lot of fundamentals, and that's really the basics. And players like Julius and LT, and guys like that are good fundamental players and great players, great athletes as well. When you put all that together, that's where you get the excellence. And it's not just about athletic talent. It is about athletic talent, but it's also about fundamentals, execution, and technique.
Third row, Rod.
Rod Baxley, Fayetteville Observer. Bill, you talked a lot about your dad's influence on you and watching him at Navy and breaking down film with him. What are some of those lessons you still carry with you, and what do you remember from those experiences that you keep going back to?
Well, what I remember from being with my dad was when we would go scout a game, you had one look at every play. That's it. There was no replay board. There was no TVs in the press box. You had one look at it. And he had his pad, and he had his, what he worked off of, and didn't matter whether it was a kickoff return that he was diagramming, a blitz that he was diagramming, or a running play or a pass play. He had to get the whole play, and you had one look, and that's it. And you better hope the guy in front of you didn't stand up there in the play. But he taught me how to watch football, how to watch the key things, how he learned, how he trained his eyes to go from one part of the play to another part of the play based on what the initial read was as a scout. And so those things are very valuable. Now there's more technology on the sideline. You honestly don't have to do it as well, but that's how I learned. And that's what a coach does in practice. I mean, you basically get one look at the play. You're out there in practice, and you want to see as much as you can and then make the corrections and identify whatever needs to be adjusted or corrected on the play to the best of your ability. And that's always been very helpful to me, is to be able to, see what multiple people are doing at the same time and try to identify what to correct the player on, or what coaching point to give them to help them do it better. And so that's my job, is to help the players. And all those lessons were very helpful to me. And I'd say in addition to that, the big thing for him was, make sure you get the big things right. I mean, every detail is important, of course, but spend too much time on the details and miss the big picture: blocking, tackling, ball security, penalties, etc. Important things like that. Then the time that's spent on some little detail really doesn't pay off as much when you're not doing the big things right. Make sure you get those right first.
Folks, I'm going to swing over to this side. One note: Chancellor has to step out at 2:40 to get to another meeting. We'll continue on a little bit after that, but if you've got something for the Chancellor, kind of let me know that. Right here in the front left, Brett Friedlander, and then TVD in the second row.
Brett Friedlander, Saturday Down South. Coach, how hands-on do you plan to be in recruiting, and how much do you plan on delegating to your staff in that respect? And also, do you have a long-term plan as to how long you want to or will feel like doing this?
I mean, I feel like doing it a long time, so I'm good to go. Well, look, I think the recruiting process belongs to everyone. It belongs to Michael and his scouting staff, and evaluations, and setting that up, the recruiting department, in terms of making this an attractive visitor or destination for the athlete. But it's also part of the coaching job, and certainly the head coach has a big role in that as well, to ensure the athletes, the student athletes, that you're giving them what they want. And there's not always a fit there. Sometimes that doesn't quite match up, but this university has so much to offer, and our football program has a lot to offer, that I think that we'll be able to attract a good quality player.
Michael, Ross, then Caroline.
Michael Perchik, WTVD. Coach, what have you learned during your year away from the sidelines, or even being around the Washington program, in terms of different schemes or running a college football program, in terms of some of the intricacies when it comes to recruiting or NIL or the day-in, day-out operations?
Yeah, well, first of all, learned it's a lot of fun being in the media. That's not bad. Spent a lot of time, as you said, around the Washington program. Coach Fish was I was out there in the spring training camp during the regular season, and I saw a lot of what they did, and I think Coach Fish runs a pro program, if you will, modeled after a pro program, and I think it's very similar to what my thoughts will be on that, and what Michael and I have talked about. So, and Michael worked with him out there as well too. So, I think that's definitely a let's call it a template, but every situation is different, and it wouldn't be that exactly, but yeah. But being away from it has given me an opportunity to look. I never really watched college football much during the college season. I watched it very much in the spring, looking at draft prospects and so forth. So this year I had a much better chance to follow the college game, go to college games, see the college experience on campus, which I did that several times. It was awesome. Go to several high school games, which other than watch my kids play, it wasn't something that I had much of an opportunity to do. So I think I have a better overall perspective of just the game of football, and certainly the fan interest in football. I think sometimes when you're just locked into coaching your team, you're not as aware of what the external excitement and energy and feelings are, and now that became much more evident to me. And I think it's great. It's most popular sport by far, and I can see why everybody's into it. The world just, a lot of it, not all of it, a lot of it is revolves around football.
Folks, I've got 6 more written down, so don't raise your hand at this point. We'll see how we get through. Ross, then Caroline, Andrea, and Chris in the back. Go ahead, Ross.
Ross Martin, CBS Sports, 24/7 Sports, and the Big Hitters Only podcast. Did you talk to Coach Nick Saban? And if so, what questions did you have for him? What advice did you seek from him? And what kind of stuff did he tell you to get prepared for the college game?
Yeah, Coach Saban and I have a long friendship and relationship. I have all the respect in the world. Love Coach Saban. In all honesty, I would just keep our conversations private. I don't think, really those are to be shared publicly. I appreciate the question, but there's nobody I respect more than Coach Saban, and he's been a great friend for 40 years.
Right in front of you on the aisle, Coach Caroline.
Caroline Wills from the Daily Tar Heel. First for Bill. You mentioned wanting...
Bill Belichick talking for a little bit more than 30 minutes now as the new head coach at North Carolina, saying, I didn't come here to leave, talking a lot about how he's looking forward to developing young players at the college level. We're going to get reaction from Logan Ryan, who was drafted by Bill Belichick, also our lead NFL insider, Jonathan Jones, just after this.
Cock from the Raleigh News and Observer. Just curious, there were reports that you had prepared a document or organizational Bible. Were those accurate? I reserve a follow-up if the answer is...
Yeah, I mean, don't believe everything you read in the papers, all right? I have no idea where that came from. I don't have a 400-page document. I mean... And to think I would just go out and hand it, I mean, come on, really.
In terms of your thinking for what you did want to do with the job, at what point did you start thinking in your head, if I had a college program to run, this is what I would do? Because you obviously spent so many years in the NFL world of thinking how I would run an NFL team or organization if I were at a different one than the Patriots. At what point did college start really becoming a focus of your thinking?
I mean, that's a great question. Here's what I would say. College kind of came to me this year. I didn't necessarily go and seek it out, but I had many coaches, I mean, we're probably a couple of dozen coaches, talk to me and say, hey, can we get out and sit down and talk to you about these things? The, let's call it salary cap of pro football relative to college football, the headsets, the green dot, the 2-minute warning, the tablets on the sideline. Those were all rules changes this year in college football that were either the same or similar to what we had in the NFL. And these coaches said, hey, coach, can we just talk to you about how you did this, how you did that, what, how did you use this, how did you handle the, talk about the 2-minute how did that, what did that warning, how did that affect your strategy at the end of the half, the end of the game? How did you look at it? How did you break it down? And so as those conversations started, and then the personnel conversations started relative to salary cap and how you spend whatever the allotment of money you have is, whether that's by player, by position, by, freshmen, recruits, transfer. How did you look at that? And so I had multiple conversations with several coaches in this conference, within the Big Ten and Southeast Conference, and others. So, and sometimes there were coaches who were on the staff that were responsible for, let's call it situational football, for kind of organizing that, or in some cases a person in the organization that was maybe in football but now being moved over to the, let's call it, semi-general manager type role, that wasn't familiar with that aspect of what was now invading college football, right, with the, the revenue share and the NIL. So I say that started to make me a lot more aware of it, because the first thing I had to do was learn about it and say, okay, well, what are you dealing with here? And then they would kind of explain, all right, well, here's our situation. Then you hear another coach at another school explain it sort of the same way, but it was different at his school for whatever reason it was, and so forth, on and on and on. So in the end, long answer to a short question here, sorry. You know how I like to ramble on at press conferences, right? But yeah, you just, as you learn different things about different programs and you start to put it all together, then there's some common threads, and then there's some variables.
Last two questions are David Teal and then Trevon on the right-hand side, Coach.
David Teal with the Virginian Pilot and Daily Press in Norfolk. Bubba, in this era of revenue sharing, player compensation, and the House settlement, is it possible to be all in on football and men's basketball institutionally, financially?
Yeah, great question, David. And I think so, and I think it's why we're trying to do what we're doing. I think if you go all in on those two sports provide all of the finances for the rest of the department. The more successful we are in football, and the more successful we are in basketball, the more opportunities we're going to be able to provide for everyone else here. So I'm delighted with it, and I think our future is incredibly bright, given his leadership and that of Hubert Davis. Our women's basketball program is starting revenue share this year with the NCAA tournament, and Courtney's done a fantastic job. So I think the continued investment is an investment in the future of Carolina athletics.
I goofed. I forgot Nia. I'd said yes to her a while ago. Nia, go ahead.
Hi, Coach. I wanted to ask what challenges you anticipate having in the future from transitioning from the NFL to college sports, particularly in coaching players, relating with them, influencing them, whether they're in the portal or just recruits who think about coming to Carolina.
Well, I mean, we'll see. I've had an opportunity to coach young players at various points in my career, whether it was, kids on other players on my kids' teams, or again, had an opportunity to work some in at the University of Washington, be around that team for multiple weeks out there. So, but again, it's a process, and I would say, as a teacher, you try to find ways to help the students, help the players, and if you can do that, then they have a tendency to listen and want more if they're motivated, which most of them are. And if you can't, then then they look somewhere else. So I know I can help individual players. I know I can help our team be successful. I'm going to do all I can to give my best effort to do that on a daily basis. You can count on that.
Last question, second row on the end, Trevon.
Trayvon Miles, ABC 11. Coach, your ties to this university are well documented. You brought your dad's hoodie. There's a picture of you in Kenan Stadium as a youngster floating around here. You mentioned that college came to you. How important was it that it was this university and your ties to it, whether it be in the past or your father's ties, as opposed to a traditional powerhouse football program?
It was most important. It was most important. All the things that the University of North Carolina stands for, the academics, the cultural, the research, just the whole, everything it stands for, both athletically, which has been tremendously successful in all sports. I spent, quite a bit of time with Coach Petramalo, with Coach Bresci in the lacrosse program, and many of their players as well. I've spoken with them, so it's been really kind of a connection to this school, but everything that it stands for, on the field, off the field, and really the destination that Carolina is for really so many student athletes. There's so much opportunity here. You know, I'm honored to have an opportunity and thrilled to be a part of it. Appreciate it.
Coach Belichick, thank you very much. That concludes our
And there he is, maybe even a softer version, a smiling version, even a rambling version, as he pointed out, of Bill Belichick. Very different than the press conferences we saw when he was in the NFL, the new head coach of North Carolina football. A lot to unpack from this. We will be right back with Logan Ryan, who was drafted by Bill Belichick, and Jonathan Jones.